Most business leaders are embarrassed by their website. Bad photos don't show how great your product or service is. Old content makes your brand seem irrelevant. And your website doesn't really even bring in the work or the leads or the sales like it was supposed to. What people typically do next is they hire a creative agency to redesign their website for $5,000, maybe $10,000. And you'd think a new, beautiful website like that would ease your fears, make you proud, and increase business, right? Well, wrong. 90% of the time someone redesigns their website, they feel better for a moment until they realize that sales have stayed the same or even declined. Every day they head into their office and, click refresh on their browser, refresh. Days, weeks go by and nothing. Nobody knows, nobody cares. Here's why. Pretty websites don't necessarily sell things. Clear communication sells things. A simple offer sells things. And a sales funnel sells things. Friend, if you're embarrassed by your website or it isn't working like you hoped it would, it's probably not only your website that's the problem. It's how people are using it. What's better than padding your pride with a beautiful website that doesn't work is padding your pockets with one that does. Because let's be honest, if your website doubled, tripled, or quadrupled revenue, you wouldn't care what it looked like. You just would love that it works, right? So if you're watching this, I assume you might be this person. You might be about to redesign your website. And I don't want to stop you. If it's really what you need, do it, right? I just want to save you from wasting your time and money if it's not. Your website should be your most profitable asset, not your most painful. So I want to help you understand some good reasons to redesign your website, followed by a few not so good reasons and what to do instead. I hope to provide a little bit of a plan. So if you walked into my office today and asked me to work on your website, the first question I'd ask you is why? I'd ask, why do you need to redesign your website? If you answered with one of the following 3 reasons that I'm going to share right here, I would say you should do it. So let's look into those. 1, you'd say, hey, my website's just broken. Maybe your website isn't viewable on mobile devices, right? This is a problem. It's going to take some time, intentionality to fix, and it would be a great reason to redesign. And it's also likely that if your website is old enough to not be mobile responsive, there's some issues on the desktop version too that are making it really hard to use or really hard to buy from. So believe it or not, it's 2020. I just had a client last year who had this problem. Her website was so antiquated. The best solution was literally to start over and redesign. So we helped her redesign her site, and she's quadrupled sales for her business. So that's you, go for it. Second reason is your website doesn't handle your business needs. I had a friend with an e-commerce business who was using Squarespace. His company grew into the millions, and he realized that Squarespace, as he was using it, wasn't really built to handle the intensity of the site he needed to serve his customers. So he made a switch to Shopify because it could handle the traffic and complexity he wanted to use on his website. All that to say, he didn't have to redesign, but since he was moving over all his content to a new platform, it was a great opportunity to update his design and make some strategic adjustments to his sales funnel so customers would find it easier to buy his product. If that's you, do it. 3, your website is visually outdated. This is you if your website is like 10, 20, 30 years old, but it doesn't reflect the quality of work you do anymore. The branding is old, the colors have changed, and you can't showcase your product or service as well as your competitors. This is a great reason to redesign your website, as it's a direct reflection of who you are and how you want your customers to see you. They have to be able to trust you, and how your website looks does matter. So we recently redesigned a website for a client who was in this situation. It had been, I think, 10 to 15 years since they updated their website, and it no longer reflected how their customers saw them. Additionally, the framework was having difficulty scaling to serve the current needs of the business. So we brought them into the current day, and they loved it, and so did their customers. That said, there are definitely a few reasons not to redesign or rebuild your website, and here they are. First, you feel like your website isn't good enough. So we do this thing as humans in business or life where we solve problems that don't exist. Or maybe I should rephrase that. We solve for the most visible and easy to identify problems that do exist, like a website. It's the most obvious piece of marketing to blame when something doesn't work. If this is how you feel about your website, let me ask another question in the same line of thinking that might get us to a good answer. Why isn't your website good enough? Is it because you saw another website today that made you feel like yours was crap? By the way, I've totally done that. Or Was it because you conducted user testing and the majority gave feedback that they didn't buy because your website was a mess and they couldn't find the buy button? Just remember this: feelings are fleeting, facts are stubborn. If what you're experiencing is a feeling, like my website isn't good enough, you might just wake up tomorrow feeling differently. But if it's based on facts like user research, then a website redesign might be in order. So be honest with yourself regarding your motivation. Get clear on the true problems, and this will typically reveal if you need to redesign your website or if your design is fine, but there's something else wrong. Maybe it's your offer, your messaging, your marketing strategy, or maybe it's your sales funnel. Number 2, if you want to keep yourself or your employees busy, also known as, I don't know what else to do, right? Staying busy is never a good reason for anything. If you're working on your website to kill time or because you don't know what else to do in your business, there's a deeper problem and probably something else you need to do. I'm guilty of this, just so you know. If this is you, you might be too. Your website is important, but let's be strategic. Think through a marketing plan, sales strategy. Then decide where working on your website fits in the priority list. 3, if you're not getting the leads or sales you want from your website. If this is happening, you may need to redesign your website. But unless your website is a complete disaster, you likely don't need a full redesign. You probably need to work on your offer, your messaging, and your marketing. So you'd be surprised at how much of a difference it makes when you show the right words to the right people at the right time. As I mentioned before, a pretty website isn't the key to selling more. So if you're still watching this, you may be asking yourself, well, I listened to both sides, 3 points. Do I or don't I need a redesign? If I don't, what do I need instead? Well, great question. I want to help you figure that out. That's why I put together a free all-in training on how I help our clients transform their websites into websites that work. They're automated sales machines and they look good too. So I'll share a little secret. The reason most websites don't work is because the people behind them are following old rules to a new game. In order to get your website to work, you have to transition from the old way of thinking about your website as, a multi-tool that holds a bunch of different information about your business, product, or service, something people want to click around and explore, to, I'll call it a machete that does one job and it does it well. In the new way, your website isn't about you. It's about your customers. And you use your one-liner to guide them to the one thing you want them to do. Buy your product, book an appointment, schedule a call, or work with you in some other measurable way. It takes some work, but it's worth it. So if you're interested, visit wearestructure.com/WTW, wearestructure.com/WTW, and you'll be able to join or watch the training. It's free and very helpful. So I hope to see you there.